What is the greatest sauce of all time?
Chili garlic.
Chick-fil-A sauce.
Ketchup.
Man, I was very excited to do this podcast. That answer just went so many different directions. No, let's not get into that. Well, let's get into it.
You guys both said chili garlic?
No, she said Chick-fil-A. I said chili
Chick-fil-A?
garlic.
Wait, what's oh, is that Polynesian? Or is that different?
No. The actual Chick-fil-A sauce.
Polynesian.
Well, I don't know what that Chick-fil-A sauce is.
It's called Chick-fil-A sauce. It's that yellow sauce.
But what is it? You know how like
It's literally
I thought that's what it is.
Chick-fil-A sauce is literally it's like a mixture of like barbecue and mayo and like a bunch of other stuff, but it's just a different sauce. There's no other sauce to compare.
And that was your greatest sauce of all time?
A lot of people would say that. I've heard a lot of people say
Yeah,
that.
that you've never had the Chick-fil-A sauce?
I'm sure I've had
That
it, but
should
like
be the bigger question.
but it's so forgettable. That's like everyone says
No,
most people would say
that's
no.
how you know you haven't. That's how I know you haven't had it.
I'm
'Cause
sure
you
I've
said
had it.
forgettable.
like
I don't think you have.
but you know, for example, like wing sauce, if someone were to say wing sauce, it's not like wing sauce, it's like hot sauce and ranch. So I thought that Chick-fil-A sauce is like something
What?
and something. Like Big Mac sauce is what, like Thousand Island or whatever. Right? I don't actually know that. You said
Yeah,
chili.
I don't. Is that true?
All right, why'd you say chili garlic?
Bro, every Ramadan, that's what I have with my pakorde. It's like amazing. It's awesome.
Seasonal.
I mean, I could have it like all the time, but I do have it seasonal. But it's
on his mind. Let him have it.
it's kind of
I
like
do have it all the time, but
it's a better version of ketchup. I think.
sure. But
So
why'd I say ketchup is the greatest of all time? Think about it. Ketchup, like, it's the greatest sauce of all time.
is that Polynesian?
I think that was a safe answer.
No, some things are clear. Some things are clear, crystal clear. Like, if you were to say, like, who's the greatest, like, basketball player of all time, especially after watching The Last Dance, it's just like, yo, come on. Jordan, come on. Like,
Yeah, like
It's just-
someone that doesn't know basketball would say that. Like
yeah. No, but also,
But
like,
people that do
everyone's
know
had
basketball.
ketchup. Everyone's had ketchup, though. Not everyone's watched or played basketball. Everyone's had ketchup.
Yeah.
I actually don't know anyone that doesn't like ketchup.
I do.
Really? Is it you? Because that doesn't count.
It's Siam, my nephew.
Ketchup is like for kids. It's for adults. It's not like a whatever. Ketchup is a goat. Wait, real quick. Real quick. What is the worst sauce of all time?
Worst sauce.
Oh. What's that? Mustard.
Oh, I would agree with that.
Ooh,
I would agree
mustard is up there. I'm gonna say Polynesian and Chick-fil-A sauce. There's a lot of bad sauces out there.
There's a lot of bad ones, but I avoid
really
them.
quickly though,
Like, I
I do
don't-
need to shout out Asian Zing for wings though, because that's also like probably my favorite sauce. Like that, like if I was going to eat one wing and one sauce for the rest of my life, it would be Asian Zing, and I would be satisfied.
Wait, people that say things like honey mustard is the greatest. I need honey mustard with everything.
no.
Like any of those sauces that are just a trend, I'm not a fan of.
A trend? How is honey mustard a trend? Did you say
It's a trend. It's a like a white girl trend.
I've never heard a sauce being a trend.
Yeah, what
Unless
about that
one time,
Szechuan?
the Szechuan.
Yeah.
Szechuan sauce
That's the
was a
only
trend. Barbecue sauce is sometimes a trend.
Barbecue is
Okay,
not a
but
trend.
honey mustard for us is not a trend. It's really not.
Barbecue
I
is
like
a
barbecue sauce.
You know, I can't stand when people, I've been working at the store and people get honey mustard wings. Imagine
Ew.
getting wings covered in honey mustard, not dipping it in. Like,
I mean, honey mustard
so
is
much.
way better than just plain mustard.
right,
Yeah.
but you wouldn't put plain mustard
Yeah.
on a wing.
Imagine mustard wings. Well, also like you also wouldn't have like ketchup wings either though.
Oh, yeah. All right, well, when are you making that real?
Yeah.
Can we just talk about the fact that Frost, like, you can't even say that ketchup is the best sauce because you guys don't even put ketchup in the fridge in your house.
It doesn't belong
so
in the
you don't even have
fridge.
it tasting top
It
quality.
doesn't belong in the fridge. How many times do you go to a restaurant?
Frost, I looked it up and I have the perfect answer for you. The reason why they don't have ketchup in the fridge and restaurants is because they go through it so quickly that they have
It's not like it's cold, though.
to stay outside, and that they go through it enough that they
But
don't
it's not
have
like
to
it's cold.
refrigerate it.
It's not like it's cold though.
But even the bad restaurants have it for like months.
There's like diners and stuff that just have the ketchup sitting there on the table. They're not refrigerated.
Right, but
ketchup packets
they
you
go
grab.
through them. Go through them within a week. Imagine
I still
that.
have Taco Bell. I still have Taco Bell like hot sauce at my house from like probably a year ago, and it's still good. Still tastes the exact same.
Right, but we're talking about ketchup.
Ketchup doesn't belong
You're
in the
talking
fridge.
about packets.
Ketchup doesn't belong in the fridge.
Packets are like sealed off and preserved, whereas ketchup in a
You
bottle,
put a seal on. Look, you're talking about. You're talking about.
hit air so
They've
many
been
times.
exposed.
No. Okay, this is the same thing with chips, okay? If you open a bag of chips and then you like leave them however, they're going to get stale. But if you clip them and seal them, they're just as fresh. Remember you had those hot Cheetos at my
Right,
house,
but
Shamir?
imagine you
Hold up,
open
hold up.
those same
Hold
bags
up.
of chips
Hold
like
up.
18 times, and then
We did,
a year
we did,
later you've
we did.
opened them 18 times throughout the year. They will get stale.
Okay, Shamir, remember you had those hot Cheetos at my house?
Yeah,
What did you say about them?
they're all right.
No, you did not. You said,
They're-
"Yo,
okay,
these are."
they hit, but that was long day filming. And
No,
yeah,
this is
it
what
was
you
a long
said.
day
This is what you
filming.
said in case you
They hit.
forgot. Clearly, you
They
forgot.
hit.
You
They
said,
hit.
"Yo, is this a new bag?" That's what you
I
said.
did say that. I did say that.
And then I was like, "Why?" And then you were like, "Cause these hit." I was like, "They're like a few weeks old."
Frost, you're off topic here. You don't know what top quality ketchup tastes like because you don't keep it in the fridge, so you're not even preserving it at the right quality.
You guys don't know what you're talking about.
That's all.
You
We
guys-
can
All
move
right,
on. Go ahead.
let
Start
us-
with the intro, Shamir.
Let us know if you're a fridge ketchup person or out of fridge ketchup person.
Also, your
Let
favorite
me know
sauce.
if you're normal or if you're a psychopath.
Also, goat sauce and worst sauce. Like, let us know what's your goat sauce and worst
okay.
sauce.
And
So I was like, what is a ghost
yeah,
sauce?
what's goat sauce?
Yo, goat
Like
sauce
curry?
smacks. Yeah,
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in to an episode of Strange Flavors. My name is Shimmer,
I'm for us.
My name is Amber.
and this is brought to you by Alif Theory. This is the strangest and greatest podcast in the game. You can hear this podcast anywhere, such as... Actually, we're not on SoundCloud anymore, unfortunately.
Screw SoundCloud.
Screw SoundCloud. But we are on Spotify, we are on Apple Podcasts, and pretty much everywhere else you listen to your podcasts. If you want to email us, you can email us at strangeflavorspodcast@gmail.com. And if you want to watch this nice visuals on the podcast that we're doing right now, it's on YouTube.
Yes. And
Yes.
I want to take my screw SoundCloud comment back. I didn't mean that, SoundCloud. SoundCloud, you have been very good to many of us and the podcast in general. You just
Facts.
make it too difficult to upload separately. But it's no hard feelings. We love you still.
Yeah.
Guys,
Come join us on the YouTube platform to see Shamir's new office. He just redesigned it.
Yeah, guys.
And
in the office.
honestly,
called-
there's no other reason you come on the YouTube video. Just come every single week to see Shamir's backgrounds because
bro,
they amaze
you're
me
back
too.
at work?
I'm
Why are
back
you
at
back
work.
at work?
Dude, no one's here, right? You don't see anyone here.
Oh, so you okay?
I'm just
okay.
alone
Yeah,
in the
I don't hear
office.
any telephones.
There
That's
you
true. I want to give a shout out to Bobber Bagel. Bobber Bag.
Barbara Bay.
Well, his name is Bobber Bagel on IG, but Bobber Bagel decided that he wanted to support this podcast, and we thank
Hey.
Bobber Bagel for supporting this podcast. We hope you get all the bagels that you desire in life.
Thank you, Bobber.
If you want
you.
to support this podcast and get a shout out as well, go to Anchor and find Strange Flavors, and you can click support. Any amount you give, we would appreciate, and it helps us to continue keep on going. And we have bigger, badder things for you planned in the future.
Is there a link for that we can put in the description that they can click
It is
to?
linked. It is very much linked in the description.
no way.
So
Wow. Thank you so much. We really
everything,
appreciate that.
everything that you guys desire is linked in the description. One of my favorite things to do in
Wow.
life is to link things.
yeah.
And
Wow.
and my dream just came true. Many of our dreams just came true because we got the swipe up feature on Instagram on Ronald Ponas.
Let's go.
We hit 10K followers on
Look at
Instagram.
that K just looks so crispy.
The K looks so crispy, yo.
Yeah.
It looks so crispy. I'm serious. Like, I've never seen something look that crispy. And
Yeah.
and we thank you guys for supporting. Look, a lot of you guys are constantly commenting, you guys deserve more, you know, the most underrated, whatever. It's all good. Just this feeling, hitting 10K is amazing, and we couldn't have done it without you. So thank you for that. And we hope we can get
and 10K on we'll hit over 10K on TikTok too.
Well, Amber,
15K.
you're about a month late.
What?
I said you're about a month late. You've been in the refrigerator too long.
I say that to say that it's really funny that in the comments they're like, you guys should upload these onto YouTube. Meanwhile, they're clips posted from YouTube to TikTok.
TikTok is funny. Yo, we hit I was looking at the stats and we hit over 1 million views per like few weeks on TikTok. And we've like
and we're struggling on everything else.
And YouTube, Instagram, it's like it takes forever to hit those numbers. Especially YouTube is like the biggest struggle, because even though like we have 38K on there, it's still like for the time span that it's been up,
it's
and like the views
and like everything is just weird.
Dude, algorithms, like I want to have a shirt that just says like screw the algorithm.
No,
like,
you don't,
also
because TikTok is helping us.
Oh, TikTok is a good algorithm.
Yeah.
Well, also, if you're thinking about it, like, if you were, like, clicking through YouTube and being like, oh, this is an interesting place, let me stay here, like, our numbers would be up. But, like, I don't know, like, TikTok is the best algorithm, like, I love it.
But I feel like it's for everybody, because you could be not on there forever and then have a video blowing up because it just, like, happens to fit the algorithm or whatever, and you don't have to, like, anybody can make it on TikTok.
Bro, I had 100 followers and my video hit 200,000 views.
Wow.
I love that.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. 200,000, that's good. That's really good.
That's a really, It's weird, like, there's even, like, people, I mean, this is gonna sound dumb, but, like, literally, like, the same high school that I went to, there was, like, a little brown girl that popped up on my feed, and she decided to go in front of her classroom and sing in cursive. Do you guys know that trend where you sing in cursive?
No, but
they're
you told
like,
me about it.
Basically, they're like singing, but they're like attaching all their words, so they call it singing in cursive. And like she just like went in front of her. No, I'm good.
I
just look up singing in cursive.
Just do it.
Like sing "Savage" by Meg Thee Stallion in cursive.
I'm a savage.
All right, stop.
Like that's how they do it.
Oh gosh.
Exactly.
Ow.
No,
we just lost.
We
just lost Bobber Bagel. Bobber Bagel.
Bobber Bagel.
That's how.
It's no longer
supporting
Bobber Bagel. No. I miss you.
That's exactly how it sounds. And I'm looking at it, and I was like, "Dang, this video has like 10 million views." And I'm like, "Wait, you live like down the street from me, fam? What? Okay, cool. Go off then."
That's great. TikTok, shout out to you. You've been helping us. It's always a new app we're on. A few weeks ago, I think, we were talking about the whole brown Twitter thing and like how we cancel brown people and this and that. So this morning I couldn't sleep and I actually decided to check out that show Never Have I Ever, which is written and executive produced by Mindy Kaling, who the brown community does not like for whatever reason, because I think she
for no reason. Brown Twitter. Let's keep it at brown Twitter doesn't like.
Whiteifies everything or whatever might be the reason. I saw the show.
Isn't it whitewash?
I saw a few episodes and it's completely fine. Like brown Twitter, well, a lot of Twitter actually in general is fake woke. Okay, and what I mean by that is just like you want this one show to represent everything about like every brown person. What are you talking? It's like the same thing with Rami, right? Where, you know, Rami is telling not even just one story, but a few stories within his show of these Muslim individuals that are actually going through their individual personal experiences. And people want it to be like this perfect show where it's represented in a positive light, whatever that means. And I found the same thing with this story where it's like, you know, one part of the whole show, which was that line about a white guy calling this Indian girl Priyanka Chopra, was taken so far out of context of people that didn't even watch the show. And I sent it to a group of like my South Asian friends from college to see what they thought. I was like, yo guys, I'm watching the show, want to know what you guys think about it. And they were like, haven't seen it, but I heard horrible things about it. And I was like, wait, so you haven't seen it? Yeah, but I heard her. Okay, wait, stop. Go watch it then. They're like, they said that thing about like, why does she crush on white boys? Think about this for a second. Now, like my experience, right? Going through high school and stuff. I didn't have like brown people in my high school.
Explode yourself, Ross. Is that what you're about to say?
Amber, go back in the refrigerator. Okay. Like when you're growing up as a brown person who doesn't have a lot of like brown people around them, and you're already trying to fit in, the last thing that you're trying to do is associate yourself with other brown people. I'm not saying this is the case for everybody, but this is the case for a lot of people that have insecurities about their hairy arms, and they have insecurities about the way that they talk, or like the mustache on their lip, or whatever it might be. So yeah, like when you see in her case this white guy who is like a hunk, who is like totally shredded and stuff, it is normal for a high school teenager to have fantasies about him. Why do you want it to be that, you know, it's unrealistic or not?
It's whoever you're around. Like that, what's realistic is that you're gonna like what you're around. Like you are what you're.
But even in her perspective, like she has insecurities, right? Even if there was another Indian at her school, she wouldn't want to be associated with them because one of the bullies, I guess, in the show already calls her and her group of friends the UN, which is hilarious, by the way, because they're it's her and like an Asian girl and then a black girl, and because they're like a diverse group of friends, he calls them the UN.
That's a fire group name.
I would want to be called the UN. Yo, if I was called the UN, that'd be so fire. But then he goes on to, not to give any, actually I'm not going to give any spoilers, but there's another reason why he calls them the UN. It's something. But that being said, you know, she's going through insecurities and stuff. She doesn't fully know who she is right now. And that's a story that a lot of people can relate to. Whether it makes sense to you or not, it's a story and it's a show. So like, we just need more representation at the end of the day. But like, don't just look at something, especially what's being said by the brown community. And like, I think, you know, you guys and Ayan like did a great job of like putting into perspective that, you know, sometimes we can similarly do the same thing. And I was like being OD about Priyanka Lily saying, but like,
wow, Frost admits it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't change my mind about how I feel. It's just like, I feel like it was coming from not as much a critical standpoint and more so of an emotional one, which like, you know, I admit that happens all the time, like during the podcast and stuff like that. But I mean to say, like, don't just look at Twitter or like what the Twitter community or just a community in general is saying about something without actually seeing it yourself. So I like the show so far. It feels like a Disney Channel show, just a little too much like, I guess, talk about sex and stuff, which, okay, like that's their thing, whatever. But it seems like a Disney Channel show I'd watch back in the day, like That's So Raven or something.
True. I need to give it a watch.
Give it a watch. I think you'll like it. Something else that recently happened in the news was this shooting, which kind of shook up everybody. Amber, if you want to kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so basically, from my understanding, you guys can like jump in whenever you want. There was a black person who was going for a run. That's as much information as I know about that, is that he's going for a run in a
Ahmaud
neighborhood.
Arbery, right?
Yes. And
so real quick, there was a video that recently came out that showed that he had stopped by some like house being constructed. He looked around. Not that it changes whatever the narrative is or anything, but he did that and then he continues his jog.
Yeah. And so there was a father and son who saw him running around, called the police, and the police recording was released where basically he said that they saw a black person in a white shirt running, and the you know, what's it called? The dispatcher had been like, well, what is he doing wrong? This and that. This person took it upon themselves with their son to go there and try to like physically stop this person, and then when he fought back, they shot him. That's my understanding of it. And then later it came out that like Georgia law allows you to stop somebody if you think that they're suspicious for something and whatever. The story's out there and you can kind of read all the different perspectives of it for that. the part that I wanted to comment on is that I had been seeing a few people kind of pop up with different opinions on this, and to be honest, it was kind of refreshing because I feel like it's, you know, like you're around the people you're around, you have the same opinions as them most of the time because you end up surrounding yourself naturally with people who are like-minded. So somebody from the Hawaii retreat, as you guys know, like most of them were white. And this girl, like, you know, I respect her hustle a lot. She kind of has like a good thing going for her. And I had seen, you know, a long post from her that was kind of like, hey guys, I just think it was really, really sad that, what was it, LeBron James like tweeted out something? Yeah. About how people are being killed. So she was like, this is really divisive, you know, white people are being attacked, and that like there's attack on white people, and it creates a bigger divide, and you know, and it almost like threw me all the way back into 2016, and I'm like very good at just like not responding to things, but I was like, I might be the only person that comes across you in your life that can open your eyes. And if that is going to be my purpose today, that's going to be my purpose today. So I hit her up, and in the most kindest language that I could, I tried to explain to her that her saying that that was an attack on white people is making it about white people when there's a bigger problem here and you're focusing on the wrong thing. We ended up FaceTiming later that night, and okay, yeah. We ended up FaceTiming later that night, and she was with her. She lives in a very conservative area. She's like in the middle of America, like around majority white people. And her friend who defined herself as super conservative was also sitting next to her. And I ended up giving to a 3-hour long conversation with them while they kind of said like, I don't feel comfortable saying that this Ahmaud situation, he you know, was killed because he's black. I can't say that. And I can't say that these white people did anything wrong. I feel like this is an attack on white people. I feel attacked as a white person, and I'm tired of being attacked as a white person. I wasn't a part of slavery. Why am I having to like repay for it? And so as much as like we all were like given a history lesson, I feel like a few years ago, like, hey guys, there's people in society who were pushed down and are now, you know, like, and then I even have to give them like examples of like reparations with like Jews being given Israel, and like just like there's people that have reparations, and this is almost like a social reparation. Like people are going to talk about it because they feel attacked, and that is their way of doing it. And she's like, it was just very interesting to have somebody that you don't have the same opinions as in this day and age, because I feel like we all have the same platforms, and, you know, we all come to read the same information and form opinions based off of logical opinions for the most part. And here I was having to like start from, I mean, I feel like majority of people in my life that I've come across right now look at that video and that situation and see that a black person was killed under like wrong pretenses. I haven't in my personal life felt like there's people who felt otherwise or haven't seen them speak otherwise. And here I had somebody who was on the way opposite side of that. And by the end of that conversation, I genuinely feel like I brought her to see a whole new side, and I felt very accomplished. So I guess my point to say all this is like, if you see people who have differing opinions from you, please, within your kindest language, try to, you know, bring facts and not just emotions into situations. Educate yourself and help educate others in the kindest way possible.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you look at the video, right? I mean, take all that away. Just when you consider something like this, where you see the video, you see clearly that it's just like, this man is being hunted down, right? This is not a normal situation. This is not a normal pull over, let me talk to you, let me see what's going on, citizen's arrest type of thing, defenseless person. I think that when you have a conversation with somebody about what this is, right, you can get them on board with like, do you see a problem in this? Yes or no? Like, you know, and if they don't see a problem with that, right, with what's going on, even after all the evidence has been laid out, these people have been free for, you know, months walking around, whereas, you know, on the opposite end, we've seen multiple times where there's been innocent people that have done nothing and they've been killed for it. When you look at something like that, and then you take the social aspect of it and start talking about that, you are already completely dismissing what the situation is. And I think that that is a moment for you also to realize that, okay, when one of my, say, conservative friends has an issue that they really care about, what are we really talking about, right? What's the underlying issue here? And am I giving enough attention to what their emotions are, right? So like when I think when LeBron posted it, somebody had commented, he said, okay, well, this is clearly wrong and I feel sorry for him, but let's also not forget the black on black violence. And then Jamie Foxx stepped in and was like, responded to that. And he was like, we're not going to let you, dismiss what this conversation is about. Right. And even if there are going to be people that are going to be very emotionally tied to this. There's going to be people that are going to bring up lots of things like gun control and the Black Lives Matter movement, and the list goes on and on and on and on. You have to look at what is in front of me at this moment right now. And have I seen this before? Is there a reoccurring pattern? And I think, again, when you talk about logic and all of that, if you're able to have a conversation with your friends or family and like hear them out, listen to, why does this affect you? Why do you think as a white person you feel like you've been, getting attacked and stuff? Okay, like let's bring out what the issue is. You feel like everything comes down to black versus white, and you not being the reason why slavery existed, whatever. But how does that affect you, right? To this day, can you walk around and are you being, chased down like this guy? I remember seeing a video on Twitter where this guy was running around a neighborhood with a TV in his arms and with his shirt off, a white guy. And he was running around pretending like, looking suspicious, right? You see a guy running around with a TV in his arms with his shirt off. Did he steal that? Did he run? And that clearly looks suspicious. Whereas in this case, Ahmaud did not look suspicious. And he got waves. People are waving to him saying, hey, what's going on? Like, there's clearly a problem there, and we should not ignore that. And then at the end of the day, what can we do instead of trying to, just be on social media and just call people who we don't agree with? What is the real action? And I think that what people ended up doing, which is signing that petition and raising money to get the word out there about this situation, was the reason that people, the government was pressured to put an arrest out for, the father and the son who did this. And that should be the main focus.
I think that like the people who genuinely, from like a complete ignorant standpoint, and I don't say that to offend them, I mean genuinely ignorant, like they are completely uneducated about these topics, when they say, what about black on black violence, and what about black on black crime and all this type of stuff, and they say that as a genuine concern, and they really don't get what the problem with that statement is, somebody has to be willing to speak to them and say, well, let's talk about that. Where does most of those situations occur? In places where they were pushed into a small amount with low income, low resources, and also put against each other for status within their same communities. Lighter versus darker. All those things are systematic and built in. And so like sitting down with someone and actually addressing that and like breaking that in, for me, honestly felt very fulfilling, because at the end of the day, they were like, oh, I never thought about the fact that they have a lack of resources. I knew that I just felt like there wasn't fathers in the homes of these people because of their culture, not because of their like history and how it's come out to be. Like, I genuinely got these two girls who then can go on and say this to their other people who were saying the like, okay, what about white people? We feel attacked. And then actually breaking down every single question that they had that was built in like ignorance. It was racist, but it was also built in ignorance, and sitting down and breaking that for them was very fulfilling for me. And I think that like having somebody, and I did that with quite a few friends throughout the years, but like having somebody sit down and do that for you, I think is like a breakthrough for people. And I hope that other people are willing to have that conversations with other, instead of just shaming them and being like, you can't talk because you're white. Because we can say that if they're educated about it and be like, yo, you're trying to say this just to bring attention to you, when they actually feel attacked.
Yeah.
Like,
no, I think,
let me sit down and have a conversation.
I think what
with
you did is like super great. Like it worked. That's awesome that you were able to do that. At the same time, I also think that like, it makes people, like I was saying earlier, like the emotional thing, it makes people very emotional to feel like, oh, nobody's talking to this person, or, like social media, someone's saying this on my timeline and I know this person, I have to, be the person to do that. And sometimes, like, I'll admit myself, like, I don't think that I'm equipped or know the full, not in this case, but many times, like, I don't know all the details and stuff that might, that someone else might know, for me to like just use, 120 characters or whatever to try to go back and forth with somebody on a public place. Sure. And even like people that I know in real life, just like, I think, again, the dialogue is important. And when you don't have the internet there, like you didn't, it's a lot easier to be able to have your own sort of, form your own opinions and also learn and educate one another, instead of like people throwing in random things and so much like, fake news going around and all of that. It's just about like, I think you being a good person, doing what you think is right, setting an example, and then using your privilege ultimately to, talk about things that concern you and create a healthy dialogue and conversation.
Absolutely.
On that note, we want to bring in our guest today, who is doing just that and creating awesome, healthy dialogue from places that he comes from. And the stranger today is a young Queens native who has used his Bengali cultural background to give back to his community in unique ways. He is currently running for New York State Assembly in hopes to be a voice for the communities that raised him. So, without further ado, please welcome MAHFUZUL Islam. So we have MAHFUZUL with us. Am I saying that right, by the way?
MAHFUZUL.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, see, even with the end of the community, we still mess up our own names, man.
I've actually never heard that name before.
It's a weird one. MAHFUZUL.
MAHFUZUL. Yeah. I tried to look up the meaning too, because I always like knowing what people's names mean, but I couldn't find it. Do you happen to know that by any chance or no?
I do. So it's Mahfuz. Mahfuz is where it comes from. So I'm Bengali, and we always put a UL at the end of everything, and so that's why it's MAHFUZUL. But Mahfuz, so it's like, protector, guardian, of Islam, like, protector.
Yeah, that makes sense. So Bengalis put the UL at the end. That's a thing that they do. And then your last name is Islam.
MAHFUZUL. Yeah. That's also very Bengali as well, having the last name Islam.
I mean, we know that you're running for a political position, so that last name has got to be a huge factor into how people perceive you.
Oh yeah. It's either a turn on or a turn off right away.
I mean, throughout your life, has that kind of been like a factor? Were you at any point like ever embarrassed of that, or kind of like trying to hide it?
I guess there was certain points where like the kids would just be like, "Oh, your last name Islam that's like my last name was Christian," type of thing. But it was like out of jest type of thing. But it's like you can't really hide, or like everyone knows what I am because of my last name.
Yeah, for sure. So before we even get into like you running for this position, what's your background? What's your upbringing like? You mentioned that you're Bengali, but did you grow up here? Like, how was that?
Born and raised in Queens. I've been in Queens my entire life.
So you were just born and raised in Bangladesh then?
Say it again?
You were just born and raised in Bangladesh. Queens is the same thing, right?
More or less. It's a combination of Bangladesh, but yeah, exactly. And in like near the areas where there's like a high concentration of like South Asians. I don't know if you guys heard of like Jackson Heights, Jamaica, those areas.
Of course.
You might as well be in Bangladesh. Exactly. You got like
it's amazing.
Uncles chewing pan in the corner. Yeah.
You have like the carts outside with the corn, the pan, kulfis. It's amazing. That's the spot to go if you're trying to get a sort of authentic experience.
Yeah, for sure. Like anything you want back at home, you'll probably find out in Queens. for sure.
Yeah. So also with you being Bengali, you know, one of the cool things that I read about you was that you started this organization called Jhal. Is that how you say it?
Jhal. So
talk about that. What was that?
Yeah. So Jhal actually just means spicy in Bangla. I started with my cousin Alif Theory. We started out the Queen's Night Market. The Queen's Night Market is like it's like a outdoor food festival, and it was the first time Queens had something of that sort. I don't know if you guys have stuff like that. It's kind of like when you pop up, have a lot of different tents, and they're like a lot of different vendors, and it's outdoors, and you kind of get to try a lot of little things. Yeah, and so this was the first time Queens was having something like this, and it's Queens International Night Market, food from everywhere. And when we started it about 5 years now, we went there. Queens wasn't as popular as it is now. Queens now, like when you see it in the news, you hear about it everywhere. Back then, it was all about like Brooklyn and Manhattan. That's where everything was happening. But like it was just exciting that something was happening in Queens for the first time. We went out there. I had food from all over, and there was no Bengali food. There was no South Asian food, first of all, and then there was no Bengali food, and no one really knows what that means. You know, with all South Asians, we're kind of just all clumped into Indian, and that's just what everyone perceives us as. So we were like, yo, we're gonna come back here, and we're gonna do jhal muri, which is like it's a type of chaat, I guess, in Bangladesh, where you use like muri, which is puffed rice, and cilantro and mustard seed oil and that stuff. You'll find it in every corner of Bangladesh and Kolkata as well in India. And fuchka, which is like pani puri and golgappa, but like the Bengali version of that. And when we did it, you wouldn't find this sort of stuff in like any restaurants. And you want to eat that sort of stuff on the streets. That's, you know, that kind of, it comes with like the ethos of eating that food. You want to be on the streets, you want to hear the hustle and bustle, and then, you know, the dirt adds to the flavor and all that, right? When you're in Bangladesh. But so we went out and
without the salmonella.
Without the salmonella. I mean, sometimes, you know, you lose a little weight. It's not but we went to the market. You know, me and my cousins always had a passion for food, and we started serving, and we also brought like artifacts from Mal culture. Like you'll have Rabindranath Tagore's like face on the banner. He's a famous like literary figure. Qazi Nazrul Islam, another poet, revolutionary poet, and the tablecloth itself was like a blanket from my grandma used a nokshi keta. It's like a hand-woven blanket, and so it sparked a conversation, you know, with people. So whenever someone came, you know, we would tell stories and stuff like that, and that it was just exciting. Like young folks are like, oh wow, you're like repping your culture. We've never seen Bengali culture repped before, and for new folks, it was like their first time interacting with Bengali culture. So it's like soft diplomacy, and that was my background is in international relations, and so like this is me doing it in a way like directly rather than like I had like internships at the UN. I worked with the UN. And it was just, you know, things get muddled, but when you're doing directly, there's a sense of like passion that comes from it. Yeah. And then the people that we were working with were my own mom, who's a stay-at-home mother, and my new immigrants, my cousins that just came from Bangladesh. And on the front, they were like learning English because they have to interact. At home, you know, you kind of like, they feel shy, they don't want to talk in English, but when these cousins we were taken to market, they were speaking English, and that's where they were learning their language building skills. And on the back end, we helping them build their resume, helping them get into school, get into college, do their SATs. For the moms, teaching them how to use a smartphone. And just like with the moms, it's like when you're a stay-at-home mother, you don't necessarily, you have your close group of like family members, and you don't have that sort of network, and you fall under depression, you fall under these things that we don't really talk about in our cultures, right? And so we like take them out to like go bowling, some things that they wouldn't never do, go mini golfing, like things that they wouldn't necessarily do on their own. So yeah, that's that's a kind of like a gist of all the stuff that we've been doing.
So
that's
the last
awesome.
4 or 5 years. Yeah.
Was this like a promotion kind of like the culture in the area and like spreading it? Was this like intended, or were you like what were you trying to essentially do?
Yeah, I mean, intention for sure was just like the reason we started wasn't definitely not to make a quick buck. Not definitely like the money was. It just helped facilitate everything, and then finally we were able to make like enough to pay a wage to these mothers who wouldn't be able to work otherwise, right? And stay-at-home mothers. But foremost, it was like the culture, being able to talk about this thing that we all grew up feeling, eating, seeing, but not having the platform to be able to talk about it on our own terms. And so, yeah, for sure, being like doing that in a direct way.
Nice.
And you got it into I saw that you guys had a LA pop-up as well. So how far do you like plan to take this, and what's kind of the I guess goal in the future for it?
Yeah, it's become like, it's crazy. When we like I said, when we began, there wasn't any Bengali young folks doing anything, definitely not in the food scene, but also like doing anything culturally. So we had people like DMing us from all over, like Norway, Australia, Denmark, just the diaspora, like all South Asian diaspora, just all everywhere, right? And so they're just excited. It's like, oh, it's young kids, and we also repped our New Yorkness, and so like things that come with that, hip hop culture and basketball culture, all that sort of stuff, and it was unique in that way. And we had these conversations with folks from their respective diaspora, like if they're that London South Asian scene is very different from the New York South Asian scene. It's very different from the Australian scene. So having that dialogue was exciting. And so that LA one was, there's a group of awesome like artists out there, rappers like Mogs and producers like Asif, and my friend Ronak, who's part of the team. He's like, yo, let's do something out in LA. There's a little Bangladesh out there, and we were friends with them already. They haven't had something like this out there, and so Ronak happened to go out in LA, and we did a pop up there, and in Little Bangladesh, and so it's like it was exciting. And Little Bangladesh is in Koreatown over there, and so there was like a little beef happening with Little Bangladesh and Koreatown at that time period, and this was our way of just like, yo, like, we love Koreatown loves us, and we understand like our place in everything that's happening. And so, yeah, man, we're bridging connections everywhere we
respect.
Go. Yeah, cultural respect, and like going deeper into the dialogue. What does it mean to be, like from LA, regardless of our background?
This might be like one of the best ways to like spread culture, like through food and like
food, man.
Easiest conversation.
Yeah, that's
everybody eats. Everybody eats.
You also have a segment that I saw like on your Instagram page called "On the Shoulders." So that like really showed some of the stories behind some of these, I guess, people that you're kind of bringing in and highlighting. So what made you think of that, and what are some of like, the incredible stories that you've heard through that?
Yeah. I was just I was squatting at that time, and I wanted to show off how heavy I could squat. That's how. But it was.
He literally, if you don't know, he has like people on his shoulders for this like little segment.
The whole idea it was open ended. The whole idea is like we stand on the shoulders of other people, kind of thing, to get to where we are, and so it was open to interpretation. And it's just like, what are these stories of these people that have created the foundation from us back at home over here, with the struggle that they have to go through, and these stories that aren't, given a platform. And so from like being in the village of like Bangladesh to like being in the hustle and bustle of New York, and that bridge, that sort of gap, and then like things that they have, like my grandma had to go through, that it was unfathomable for it to happen now, and and not making it like like poverty porn type of thing, but just like this is the reality of like what our family had to go through, and we don't have to like be sad about it. It's just it is what happened. These are our stories.
So like you've always kind of had this, I guess, community leadership role, it seems like, when it comes to, doing stuff and giving back and relating your, cultural roots to your, where you live currently with Queens and Bangladesh. So out of all of this, what gave you the idea to want to run for New York State Assembly?
Yeah. Well, that community leadership thing, I don't think it was it wasn't intentional. It was, the need was there. And it's kind of, I think that's the case for all of us. Like, the need is there for you guys to do this podcast, and that's why you kind of like rose up type of thing. And I feel like, same exact thing with this position itself. So I was mentioning how I was working with Jhal, and the people that we work with are like working class folks from this area, this district. And are you guys familiar with AOC and Joe Crowley, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez?
No. Slightly, but for the general people who are listening to this,
sure.
I'll be honest too. I don't even know what New York State Assembly, what that entails, what kind of a position that is. So
got it. Yeah. So I'll go through what the position itself is. State assembly is the legislative level, like state level of politics. So how there's the House of Representatives and the Senators, Congress, which makes up Congress, and the federal level. This is the state level of government. It's the lower house. And so what the position does is they go up to Albany. Albany is the capital of New York, and they decide the fiscal budget, and they write bills and laws and kind of represent the district that they represent based on, like, I'm District 24, Jamaica, Queens Village, Glen Oaks, Briarwood, Richmond Hill, this area. It was never about seeking out this position itself. The reason I bring up AOC and Joe Crowley, AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who ran for Congress in 2018, and she beat Joe Crowley, who was called the Queen's Machine. And the reason they call him Queen's Machine, when you go down to local politics here, it's very corrupt. It's kind of like what this stuff happens in South Asia. And you had to go through the Queen's Machine in order to get permission to run before. You have to go through Joe Crowley. AOC beat the machine, and so now there are many insurgents that are running. A lot of people that are going against people who have been in place for a long periods of time, incumbents. And so a lot of my peers are insurgents, Zohran Mamdani, Shahana Hanif, and Mary Jubaid. A lot of folks from New York that are running here. And my cousin was like, you work directly with the people here. This is something that you should do, because the incumbent here has been here for 10 years. His name is David Weprin. Before that was Mark Weprin, his brother, and before that was his dad. So like I said, it's like South Asia. It's like dynastic people kind of just like handing off to their kids and brothers since the 1960s. And I thought it would be better if I kind of back someone else up because I'm running Jhal. But no one was running, and so that's why specifically this position, because this guy who's been here for such a long period of time and does not reflect the district at all anymore.
And like, why do you feel like you when you say there's a need for something, why do you feel like you are that guy, and like what qualifies you for this type of a position?
Sure. I think it mainly comes from who I work with, what my work has always been about, the working class folks, and understanding the needs of the working class folks, because that's where I'm from. That's that's where I've been in my entire life, and that's how the majority of people who live in this neighborhood lives. And so understanding like language and capabilities, understanding like there are businesses out here that could flourish if they knew like small businesses, mom and pop stores that could, if they knew what was available to them, artists and struggling families, if they knew what sort of government accessibility there is in their own like language, in their own terms, then they would have more access to it. So it's more so that gap that exists now because the guy who's in hasn't tried to reach out to folks and tell them what is available to them. And because if people start participating in politics, then that's when things start changing, and not, he doesn't necessarily want to change.
You seem like a young guy. Do you mind sharing how old you are?
Yeah. No, I'm definitely young. 28. I'm 28.
Oh, wow.
Is that normal for like someone 28 years old to be running for this type of position?
It's become the new norm as a result of like AOC kind of beating the machine, and I think it's also just our generation coming of age and being able to do something like this. I think we come from a background of feeling like, you know, we are incapable or this isn't our place. You know, we've never seen people like us do this stuff. We've never, and it's just so distant. And so I think the energy is there now because there's so many of us that are doing this. So we kind of like on the shoulders of each other's backs, you know?
You're not scared, bro? Have you seen people that go into politics and come out and then, like Obama, have you seen what he looked like before and after he went into office?
It'll age you real quick.
Yeah, I'm aging through this entire campaign. I never had a beard before. It just happened over this campaign.
You just grew it.
No, I am. I mean, it is. Even like within like this campaign, you get exposed to like the dirty side of politics, and as you hope, you know, you go in with like fresh eyes, and you hope that the folks that are representing us, who are making all these policy and all these laws that's supposed to like protect us and help us, you hope, you know, that they're doing the right things and doing the good things. And when as a result of coming to campaign, you're like, whoa, the House of Cards has some reality to it. Like this is there is the dirty side of politics, and it's. But that's the thing that like drives you.
Does that get discouraging?
Being
exposed to the dirty side of politics, does that ever become discouraging?
Yeah. I think it's the opposite. I think you're just like, yo, this is how it is on the inside. Nah, I'm not gonna let this happen. Nah, like my people like deserve better. Like we all deserve much better than this. And yeah, if it could get scary at times, just because it's like I've never been exposed to this. I never knew this type of world exists. But you realize how little needs to be done in order to make things better. And so that's why, you know, you're just like, all right, we have to do this.
Yeah. I think for many people, we kind of just look at the general election and kind of think that's, and I'll be honest, like I was this way as well. And I was actually telling Ayan, who is our good friend who actually connected us, on when he came on our podcast afterwards, I was talking to him and I was like, you know what, dude, I don't know. Like, I kind of understand the people that say I'm not voting this year because I feel like there's not anyone for me. And he encouraged me. He's like, you know what? You need to look down the ballot and look up those people. And my ballot came in the mail. And then I did that. I started looking up people that were on the rest of the ballot. And, you know, it was actually a little bit more uplifting. But, you know, what can you say to people when it comes to positions like what you're running for and anything else that's not just the president?
Yeah, for sure. Especially like it's especially interesting because this conversation as you guys from Maryland and us, you know, from New York, it's a different dynamic as opposed to me speaking to someone from New York, right?
Sure.
But when it comes down to it, the things that affect us the most is local politics, is what's, you know, who is representing us directly, like the lowest level, right? And there are a lot of local folks that reflect what we envision or what we hope for on the general elections, right? And it, you know, everyone says things trickle down. Things also trickle up, you know, like what happens in local politics, all these decision-making things have influence on the grand scheme of stuff. So if we could get local politicians that reflect our values, reflect what we want, then it could change the face of what we want from our neighborhoods, from our country. And we have to start at the down ballot, and that's where we have the most influence, frankly. Like, you know, when it comes down to like electoral politics, we have these, you know, majority wins, right? And like New York is a blue state, and we know it's going to be a blue state regardless of what happens. And when you vote in like primaries, when you vote in primaries in the local election, that's when you have the most influence. So it's a matter of like a couple of votes that could change the future of your entire neighborhood. And I encourage people to understand the process, understand, you know, as someone who's like 28 years old, and it's kind of like, I never knew how, like, what it meant to run for office and all these little things. But, you know, if you could organize, you get your friends and family and the people who care about what's happening, you could change your entire neighborhood and have a decision-making process and make it more participatory, right? Like remove that political figure. We kind of like deify and celebritize like politicians, and what we're trying to do with this campaign is like, it doesn't matter about that individual. It's about like us as a collective, what's happening around you, what's happening with your family, what's happening with your friends.
We'll talk about that a little bit. Like, you know, what is some things that people don't know what it's like to, you know, start a campaign. And especially I think like when I think about a campaign, to me, it just comes down to how much money does this person have to keep going? And it seemed like, especially, you know, the people that were running this year, it was like, how much money do we have and how long can we keep it going and then drop out once there's no more money left? So how are you working on that?
And who's funding them to keep them going?
Yeah, exactly. Where is the money coming from, type of thing. It's funny. So we don't have money compared to who we're running against, right? The incumbent has $400,000 saved up, and he's getting money from like real estate folks, you know, big corporations. On this, you know, his other job is he's he works in real estate, works in hedge funds, he works in investment banker, corporate lawyer type of stuff.
That just sounds evil. I'm just gonna say that just that doesn't make me feel good in my stomach.
Interpret it as you want, right? And 400,000. And as opposed to us, so far we've raised like about 10,000. Right.
Well, let's talk about your strategy real quick, because I saw this on your Instagram. You said, guys, all we need to do is raise $1,000 if everybody just gives me $1. Did that work?
It did work.
And
but
what's the thinking behind that?
So the thinking behind that was that, like you were saying, when you have these large donors, when you have real estate owners that are donating your money, you're tied to their needs, right? When you have that dollar coming from individual, normal working class folks, and we don't we encourage working class folks. The reason we made $1 is so that folks that have difficulty donating can donate, and $1 is a lot easier than, you know, $1,000 that you have to donate. And so when you have that, you know, multiple contributions, collective contribution, you're not like tied to any sort of corporation. You're not tied to those who have money to fund your campaign and influence your decision-making skills, right? And so what we have is the network, the working class that is the overwhelming majority in this district, the young folks like you and me and you who can afford to donate $1, who care about what we're doing, and the movement is strong. Like, I have an amazing team, and you know, we're very transparent about everything. All the money that we've raised is all to getting like software for like phone banking, hosting our website, getting print material, and like advertising that we have to do through social media. And nobody on the team is getting paid, and that's because everyone just cares about this movement that we're having. And it's like upwards of 80 folks on our like Slack channel that are like helping with this movement. And people from all over. Like, frankly, like, you know, Ayan he was out on the West Coast, you know, in California. I have my friend Amanda out in DC. Like, people from all over that just care about what we're doing and see this change that we're doing at a very local level.
What's the most difficult part about the process of campaigning?
The most difficult part,
or dreadful, aside from money.
Asking people for money is like dreadful to be honest. It's just like I don't want to do it.
For sure.
But that's why like we do things like ask for $1, which makes it like, okay, it makes it easier. And having like the stamina. It's like we announced in January, and you know the election itself is June. January is late compared to like most people that run. I don't know how Bernie or someone like Bernie, all these old folks that are run, how do they do it for like years and years at a time? Like I'm exhausted. Like I said, I think I've aged in this 6 months, and having the stamina to just be like, all right, just keep going. We gotta keep going. We gotta keep going, and keeping positive during this time period, and understanding that you'll have setbacks, and just like you gotta move. You gotta move.
What's like some things that you're most frustrated about when it comes to the government of either local government or just like federal, the way that the U.S. is handling things, even if it's something like currently going on with like COVID-19? What's the most frustrating things that you think that like just need to be changed?
Yeah. No, it's COVID-19. Especially here, I'm sure it's all over the news. You guys know about it. Like, this is the epicenter of the epicenter. Everyone knows someone who's been affected.
You guys have more than any other country, right? With New York.
Yeah. And so, like, I'm sure if you speak to anyone from New York now, like, everyone will know someone that has been affected. I have people in my own family that's been affected. My own dad, my uncle, and stuff. And
how are they holding up?
They're good now. We were lucky. We were super lucky. But all this is doing is exposing all the faults that existed the entire time within our structure. We're having through this campaign, because this, we're lucky that this campaign existed. We're lucky that this platform existed, because now we could help people in ways that we couldn't have helped people if this platform didn't exist. So
like what?
Like, food scarcity is like a thing that you would have never expected from a country like America or a city like New York. There are folks that are down to the last dollar, that aren't getting unemployment benefits because they're undocumented, or various other reasons. So we're working with the Queens Mutual Aid Group. There's mutual aid groups all throughout the city. So what they're doing is they're raising money, and they're giving it to families that are in need, or if they're immunocompromised, picking up and dropping off groceries, prescriptions, teaching them how to apply for unemployment benefit if they need to apply for that, the PPP, the EDIDL, which are like for small businesses, teaching them how to do it, because frankly, the older generation, they don't know how to navigate that world, and because we could speak in English and we grew up here, we could help them. We are their kids, and then that's been our roles our entire lives, right? And then getting stuff like masks. Like, we had a shortage of masks over here, so I had a friend who's based out in Singapore, and we kind of just said, hey, I know a supplier out in China that could bring in masks. So we're bringing in masks and connecting them to.
So you personally knew this person?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Exactly. It was a friend. So and then she brought it, masks and bulk supplies, and we're connecting them to funds that are giving to essential workers and hospitals that are in lack, and doing everything that we hoped that our government should be doing for us right now, and not waiting for a government.
Yeah, I mean, tying it back to what my original question was, how do you better prepare, whether it be New York or just our country, how do you better prepare for something like this epidemic in the future?
Yeah. Going back to your original question, the frustrations that I have with my government, or what I see as a result of doing this, is we aren't engaged. At the local level, we have these things called community board meetings, right? And it's city level government, but that's supposed to be our town halls, where anyone has any issues and concerns, you go in and you voice it, and then hopefully that's how it is addressed. And the people that run these community board meetings, they're appointed, they stay long periods of time, and they listen to their friends. And so if someone were to come in and be like, hey, this is my issue, you have to wait your turn in line, and you have to know someone that's running from the inside. And that's something that needs to be changed. And things continue going the way they are going is because no one makes the effort to be like, hey, let's include our parents that don't know how to speak in English. Let's include our parents who are working, or ourselves that are working the entire time and can't necessarily be involved. And so if we over here in New York, if you have like a pothole, you call 311 is called over here. You call 311 and you get connected to somebody, but it ends up being like 3 hours, and you just like, you get frustrated and you hang up. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to be like, okay, no, at this day and age, we don't need that. We could do, like live stream conferences and be able to text somebody or message somebody and get immediate responses. And work doesn't have to be a limiter on us being involved in the very thing that controls our lives. And so like, and things like the census, which is happening right now, 2020, all over the country, is so important, because that's like, and telling people in our communities that don't, have that fear of interacting with the government, have that fear of filling out those forms, because we have a lot of undocumented folks in our community, and just like that fear of public officials, showing them that, hey, this is something that will benefit us because of the results of 2010 census is why our hospitals don't have the funding that they need to get masks. That's because why we don't have enough hospitals, is why our schools are lacking, is why we don't have the right public resources, because they don't have the right numbers to know how many folks live in our neighborhood. So participatory democracy, that's our big thing.
It sounds like essentially what you're saying is we need people that are from the communities that are supposed to be, making rules and regulations for them. And from what you've, told us about your life and your upbringing, it seems like you are that guy.
So I hope so.
Yeah.
And more than that, it's like making it accessible to like my whole friends and family. Like, I don't, like, what I want to emphasize, like, I don't want it to be like, okay, I am another AFC, I am another Bernie, I am another whatever. Like, let's just like break that whole structure down. We don't need that one person anymore. Let's reverse that. Yeah. And like everything that I come from, everyone who is my family, everyone who is my friends, they're the ones that, like the collective needs to be at the forefront now.
Are you hopeful for a better sort of America moving forward? I mean, like, I think, like I was, talking about my personal experience, being kind of discouraged about just like seeing people who, whether it be Bernie or whoever, that seemed like, okay, this guy's for the people. And whenever we think of people that are for the people, I guess, even if you take someone like Jagmeet Singh in Canada, who was the Sikh who was running for prime minister, he seemed like he was someone for the people too, but seeing all of them kind of, not be able to go all the way with it, does that ever get discouraging? Are you hopeful to be able to change something like that?
Yeah. No, there are like times of just like, oh man, we like, with like the Bernie a lot of folks with the Bernie campaign are part of this campaign as well, have broken off that after he didn't end up becoming the nominee. But I think it's also just like redirecting that energy into things that we know we could have influence in. So I am hopeful in terms of like, I think more and more people are becoming aware of what we could do at the local level, and it could, either through politics or non-electoral organizing, like the mutual aid groups. And we don't have to rely on someone being in office in order to have a future that we want. It's all up to us and how engaged we want to be in this entire process.
Yeah, you seem like a great guy, and I definitely wish you a lot of luck. If this was something that you were to succeed at, would you ever consider going further and like going up the rank in political positions?
I haven't thought about that at all, at all. And like I said, I never even wanted to get in politics. Right. Like, I still don't want to be a politician, right? Like
I mean, look, we're some of us here are musicians, and we've practiced our Grammy speeches and our Oscar speeches, so it's okay for you to ever think about it, just to see like what would I do if I was ever in that position, like.
The same exact stuff that I mentioned, like break it down. Don't have it be about that position. If the only time, the only reason, like, I would want to do something else would be if there's a need to do that, because there is someone like the person, the weapon incumbent that is here right now. Sure. That would, for me, like as me right now, that's what I would say. Like the only reason I would want to go further is if I see there's a need and there's no one else doing it. But I'm hopeful that there are going to be many other people doing it, and so yeah, I would love to nurture those folks.
Yeah. My last question here with you being from New York, how do you feel about 6ix9ine? Does he get a pass?
It's controversial, man. I mean,
you don't have to
in these times, let me. I'll give a politically correct.
There we go.
A response. In these times when we were so like, we were all so down with like what's happening with our families, with what's happening with our friends, and just like corona, and just like hearing about a new death every single day. We look for escapism, right? And that's like when it comes down to it, 6ix9ine is escape. He's an embodiment of like going to the movies and just be like, yo, this is exciting because it's just like, yeah, it's pure entertainment. It's just pure entertainment. That's what it comes down to. And so yeah, it was nice to see him get 2 million viewers, and then not have to think about like the horrors of what we're going through,
Yeah.
Despite
and not
being
take it seriously, like
and not take it seriously, take it seriously, the color, like the flashy colors are could be like a good distractor from everything.
The flashy colors. That's hilarious. When is the election? Where can people go to learn more about you and support your campaign?
So the election itself is June 23rd, but because of the pandemic, everyone is allowed to fill out an absentee ballot request and vote from home. And so they could do that now if they go to nycabsentee.com. You have to be a registered Democrat in order to vote in this primary. The last date for that is May 29th to register as a Democrat. The election itself is June 23rd. The last date to request a absentee ballot is June 16th. And the website has all this information. Our website, MAHFUZUL 424, MAHFUZUL FOR24, or M424 because you got a crazy name.
We'll link your
M424.com.
your stuff in the bio, so then
Awesome.
people can go and check you out, your Instagram and all that.
Awesome.
Anything else you'd like to leave us with?
Tell me about Maryland. I don't know.
Well, we do close. Maryland is nice. It depends where you're from. I'm from like the countryside, and Amber's from the city side, and SHAH-AMEER's from the
Corona
DC
side.
sort of Corona side. It's heavy over there. But our podcast is called Strange Flavors, and at the end of every podcast, we like to ask the guest what their flavor would be. So since Amber, you couldn't hear him the whole time, do you want to ask him the last question?
If you could describe yourself as any flavor, what would it be and why?
Damn. Okay. All right. Right before that, I'm gonna say a little plug-in. Last thing I would say, if you guys want to volunteer, it doesn't matter where you are, reach out to us. Donate $1. Everyone could donate $1, or if not, help us in time. We need phone
Is
bankers.
that the campaign slogan?
Call up. Well, everyone could donate $1.
Donate $1.
Donate $1. I mean, that's not a bad slogan, right?
It's got a ring to it.
And reach out to us however you could, and DMs, IG. We're on all the social media. And the flavor, like that mystery flavor, where you don't know what you're gonna get. You get like those,
like the Airhead mystery flavwer.
Yeah, exactly. You don't know what you're gonna get, but you get excited. You're like, oh wow, this is blueberry. Okay, cool. I didn't expect that. That's me.
Awesome. Incredible. MAHFUZUL.
Yeah, you got it.
I keep getting it wrong. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
Yeah, his name is the Protector, so you guys better seek some protection. Thank you again for coming on the podcast. We appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
And for everybody listening, it's been another week,
another flavor,
a little less stranger.
We'll talk to you next time.